Hey, what's happening, everybody? I am back once again. It's a little chilly out today as we continue to try to straighten my hood here. As we continue to try to reacquaint ourselves with nature here at 8:45/8:55 in the morning. You are back in and on the 11th House channel, where I am doing 15 minutes of flame today. And by the way, yesterday's show was also up on Vimeo. And some of you have subscribed to me on Vimeo. It's there as well. I have little titles now. I've been playing with iMovie and doing intros and outros. Nothing special, but trying to kind of improve and indulge in novelty. Okay, let's see who we have here today. Mia Widgical Catacorn batting leadoff. In the second position and played second base, it's Kabuki Theater. Batting third and playing left field, it's Michael Pafford. Batting cleanup all the way from California and playing first base, it's Lisa Marie. There's Paulette Hansen. Hello, Paulette. Thomas Jordan in the house. QAnon Shaman on CBS this morning, looking at 20 years. He looked hungry. Jake Angeli. Wow, what a complex character. So apparently there's supposed to be a big attack today on Washington, D.C. This, according to the police chief of Washington, D.C., and all the intelligence agencies who have determined that the QAnon army is going to take over Washington, D.C., blow up the White House, kill everybody, right? So, we've seen this coming. And what they've done is they've essentially weaponized QAnon. That's what's happened. They've weaponized QAnon. And it's really a big nothing burger until the alphabet groups get involved, and then all of a sudden it becomes something. Because we've seen this many, 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 many times before. What's going on, Ryan? Good to see you. Susie in the house. There's another Michael. DJ MC, what's going on, Michael? Lisa Koloshinsky checking in from the Great White North. Hello, Lisa. We cover it all here. We got all four corners. We got all four corners of New Tartaria covered here. Susan is checking in from Arizona. There's my man, Masaki. Masaki and I were texting away this morning. Masaki sends me good shit on text. He inspired part of what I'm talking about today. Let's see. Last summer, BLM and Antifa burnt cities down and even occupied whole areas. They called it PA. So here in Texas, there's a new autonomous zone that's been set up east of Austin called 400-1. And essentially, it is a black separatist movement that has decided that they want to flex their muscles and assert their boundaries. And apparently they've got caravans of cars that kind of circle the area. So, but I don't think they can call it Wakanda. Masaki said, why don't they just call it Wakanda? Because I think they would have copyright infringement. And I'm pretty sure that Marvel/Disney probably wants to do a Wakanda-based theme park. Wakanda Land. And if they don't, they're missing out on a huge opportunity. Are you kidding me? My God. I mean, should have happened 2 years ago. Who else do we have? There's Natasha. Hi, Natasha. The lovely and talented Jonas. Let's see. Joe Mama. Hello, Joe Mama. Laura D's here. Ray's testimony the other day continued the narrative. Yeah, we're gonna get into misinformation, disinformation, and deep fakery. I'm going to show you two things today that are going to kind of blow your mind. They're going to kind of blow your mind. And it has to do with people who may not really be who they purport to be. In one case, we know it. In the other case, it's a creepy revelation. Lils is here. What's going on, Lils? CC Jones. Check it. Hey, there's my man, Ralph Winter, London calling. I gotta send a smoke signal to Seeger. I hope he's still watching. You know who else I haven't seen in a while is Ashanti. I hope she's okay. Leon Luis, he's here. Speaking of jolly old England. Susan transmitting the sunrise from Berkeley, California. Not much of a sun here today. Let's see. Wendy is not having a good day. We hope it gets better. Infinitely better. Craig Corporon. Good morning. All beautiful sun and cold and wind here on the east coast of Canada. You're a brave man, Craig. Let's see. Who else do we have? Double V's in the house. Victoria V. Frank Bry. Yeah, Frank and I had a great chat yesterday. And I learned a lot of interesting things about Frank, including the fact that he is a very accomplished sound designer. You guys are so talented. This is a very talented group, extremely talented group. If we all decided we want to start our own autonomous zone, I think we do okay. You know why? Because you guys don't have a lot of ego. You don't have a lot, big personalities, but not a lot of ego. And there's a difference there between that. You can have a big personality, but it doesn't always have to come with ego baggage. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Kathy Martin. Hi, Kathy. Nice to see you. The wench with a wrench, Ani Brito. She's here. Jamie, I'm going to get back to you today. Let's see. Oh, there's Tamara. Hi, Tamara. Jacqueline is here. Z is here. Wakanda was actually a stolen word from the Native Americans. How about that? Tokenism is a hell of a drug. Wow. Wakanda stolen from the Native Americans. You know, it's interesting. The Black Panther was, if I'm not mistaken, actually penned and inked and written by white comic book artists. So they've given birth to a kind of cultural icon. And it's weird, right? It's hard to kind of reconcile that in some ways. Hard to kind of reconcile it. I did buy the Black Panther comics as a kid. I thought the futuristic city in Africa was actually kind of cool. It's like, wow, this is kind of cool. Persian scribe, People's Front of Tartaria is crap. The Tartarian People's Front is much better. Laugh out loud. Let's see. Danica Rose, nice to see you. Was thinking about you. Shannon Jones, what's going on, my brother? What's happening? Snake. Good to see you. Orisha Land. Yeah, that's what they're calling. They're calling their community Orisha Land. I wonder if they're like selling guided tours to Orisha Land. You know, look, I don't have a problem if people want to have their own ethnic or cultural encampments. I don't have a problem with that. You just got to let it happen for everybody. I mean, it works for the Amish, right? The Amish do it. Just let it happen for everybody. Make it across the board. I'm good with that. If a group of people who are so-called Black and African American want to start their own community, fine. I've got no issue with that. None at all. You know, one time I flew. I've talked about this before. I flew to Frankfurt, and maybe I didn't talk about it before. I flew to Frankfurt one time, and the guy sitting next to me was first generation Russian Jew. His parents immigrated from Russia to the United States, and he went to Stanford. And this guy was wealthy. He made no bones about telling me in his own way how wealthy he was. So I sat next to him the entire flight. And this is how he made his money. I hate to say, but it's kind of a cliche. He created a software program that worked with debt. And essentially what his software program did is that it would identify people who were on a debt list and rank them and prioritize them so that whoever bought the debt, right? So you know how that works. If people are in arrears and companies can't collect, then they sell that. They sell their debt for, pennies on the dollar or for half off or whatever. So they're making some money off that debt, the debt that they haven't been able to collect. And then downstream, you have the jackals sort of, tearing away at the carcass of the debt. And so what he did is he created this software program that would identify who might be sort of the easiest to collect from. And I guess if you're in that world, then that kind of thing would, be quite valuable. Apparently it was. He created that company. He sold the company. He was very proud of it. And he told me that it allowed him to travel from the Bay Area to Frankfurt, which is where he had an apartment filled with clothes. So he didn't have to wear any clothes. He didn't have to bring a suitcase. He was very proud of that. In this regard, he truly was a rootless cosmopolitan. And we spent a lot of time talking about things. So one of the things that we talked about was his love for Ashland, Oregon. His eyes lit up, really lit up. Oh, I love Ashland. So really, oh, I love it so much. We go there for the Shakespeare Festival. I go, well, why don't you live there? If you love it so much, why don't you live there? Oh, and I wasn't being abrasive. I was just, curious. I could talk to people. And he said, oh, I don't know. I can't do that. Well, why not? Seems like you're well off. Well, we all, there's a group of us. We all live together and live around each other in Palo Alto. Might have even been Woodside. Menlo Park. I said, oh, really? Huh. We just feel safer together. So what he was really saying is there's a group of us, we're Jewish, and we live together. We live around each other, right? We have our community. And I'm okay with that if that's what they want to do, because they can share things, they have commonality. They have, shared holidays, shared rituals. But he did not want to break off and go to a place that he really, really loved. Didn't want to do that. No, yeah, it's okay. You want to be with people that you can relate to. I don't have a problem with that. And then what did we talk? Oh, he talked about how much he loved the country. How much he loved this country. Okay. So do you love your country so much that you would allow your because I found out you had a son and a daughter. Do you love it so much that you would allow your son and daughter to go fight in a war for America if called upon? And nobody had ever asked him that question before. He was like, he had to think about that one. He really had to think about that one. And I'm not sure he ever got around to answering it. But the biggest sort of moment of the conversation was talking about World War II and talking about Hitler and all this other stuff, right? And I said, if they hadn't had the Treaty of Versailles and put such heavy-duty reparations on Germany and then brought in the Weimar Republic and completely gutted the financial system and the spirit of the German people, there would be no Hitler. He wouldn't have existed, because he came out of that, from that void, right? Because people were beaten down, and it was a bad time in Germany post World War I, really bad. And he thought about it. He said, "Oh, yeah, you might be right about that." He didn't know, but he had never considered the proposition that the reason this thing was able to sprout up and rise up was the fact that the international banking community, right, the League of Nations, imposed all these onerous sanctions upon the German people. And it's kind of a theme, but we're going to explore a little bit of that today. But yes, Orisha land. But I don't think that it would allow Andrew Jacksonville. Something tells me that Andrew Jacksonville might have a bit of pushback. Just my instincts telling me that probably wouldn't go over as big as Orisha land. Okay, let's see. Who else do we have here? The Sue's in the house, calling all my friends. What's going on, Colleen? Laurel Jubin, back from the lake trail. Feels like springtime. Thor to door. What's going on, Steve? Oh, Crimmies will be here tomorrow. They'll be here. And we're going to be getting into Selkies and hopefully a Little Mermaid conversation too. Doing a Piscean thing. We're going to have a Piscean theme this month. You'll see. Marianne Hyatt. Hello, Marianne. Got here late. Have I missed the F-Berg City Council footage? Oh, no. You haven't missed it. In fact, I'm not even sure if I'm going to show it today. I apologize. I haven't prepped for it. I prepped for something else. Thank you for reminding me. I'll do it next week. Tomorrow, different show, different topic. I'll do it next week. Here's my man, Johnny Cruz. What's happening, Johnny? Jen S. It was 60 there one day, and I drove back to a snow-filled Portland where people had abandoned their vehicles on the side of the highway. Oh, there's Ursula. Hi, Ursula. Ashland is beautiful, very expensive, and woke. Oh my God, the biggest scam artist I ever met was from Ashland, Oregon. Danica said she lived in Ashland for a year. I also like Ashland. It's cute. Let's see. And the Lukumi gods completely correlate with planetary archetypes. Ex-Ogun, god of war, weapons, metals, Mars. Yes, there are correlations in the Socratic belief systems. You can find them. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Yemenja is Pisces, rules over the oceans. Let's see. Uncle Glenn's here. What's going on, Uncle Glenn? Good to see you. Tandar. It's Tandar. My cultural enclave would have strict laws on usury. Yes, usury, not good. Not good. Let's see. Oh, I am sure that black community would never be allowed. Can't have any solidarity there. Oh, you may be mistaken. You may be mistaken. Let's see. Hucklebuck 11, they can afford to build Wakanda in the Congo after all the gold they found there. I know, right? Apparently. Now all I have to do is keep the money-grubbing Westerners out of their little gold find. Not always easy. Let's see. So I got an update on, oh my God, there is a Wakanda Park in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. How about that? Wakanda Park in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I got an update on our friend Glenn. He had his surgery, and it was a successful surgery, and I'll have more to share about that at some future point. But he's come through that okay, and we're happy about that. Wish him all the best, and sending him lots of good healing vibes. Let's see. Where else? Kylie M. Hello, Kylie. Good to see you. Yes, I was involved in Santeria. Oh, and it is true. There are certainly correlations between planets and Orishas for sure. Jen says, I really miss living in the PNW. It's too gorgeous, but the people really ruin it for me. Yeah, yeah. I used to live in Washington. So I lived in Olympia for almost 2 years. I lived in Seattle for a year, so almost 3 years in the Pacific Northwest. And I liked Olympia a lot more than Seattle. Olympia was nutty. Seattle was depressing. I didn't like Seattle. I didn't like Seattle. I felt like the people were polite, but really cold. It was not an area that I could warm up to. I mean, granted, I was going through my Saturn return, which was not easy. It wasn't easy, but I did make some relationships there that certainly changed the course of my life. Okay, let's see. Anybody else? Hey, David, what's going on, David? Jen S. I was going to move there, but couldn't handle the people. Love when you take us out in nature. I'm stuck in the city. Yeah, you can hear the birds. We got a little bird action. The trees are kind of devastated. I mean, they look bad. I have to say, my neighbor's tree. Here, I'll show you. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but kind of over there. This is the byproduct of the storm. I got to cut that up. I got a chainsaw. I got to cut this thing out. So we have a lot of fallen branches, and they just don't look healthy. And I know it had something to do with the extreme cold, but whatever went along with that extreme cold, I'm sure it had something to do with it as well. If you know what I'm saying. Hi, Leanne. Good to see you. Ito Wam Bamingo. There's the Seattle freeze. Yeah, I didn't. You know what? I used to see a lot of famous people in Seattle, though. That was an interesting part. Just inadvertently, I'd always kind of. I think I saw more famous people in Seattle than almost any other place except L.A. Let's see. Hey, there's Amy. What's going on, Amy? I hope you and your wing gal had a good trip and got into some productive trouble. Teresa Blackbird, in the early 90s, the weather was not bad at all for a couple of years. We did a lot of hiking, Yakima River rafting. It was beautiful. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Seattle had a fabulous music scene in the early 90s. So I landed there in 1989. And I was talking with Frank about this yesterday. And I was listening to like the local college, alternative. They didn't have alternative rock. It was just like, I guess they kind of did. I think alternative rock was around, but it wasn't alternative rock in a commercial sense. And one of the guys that was a DJ at this college station was this guy, Cosmo Vinyl from the Bay Area, who used to be on KUSF and and he worked at, I believe, Aquarius Records on Noe Street. Aquarius Records was the best record store. Aquarius Records and Rough Trade Records in San Francisco, they were the best. They were so cool. And Howie Klein used to work at Aquarius Records. That was their kind of punk hangout. So he moved to Seattle. And I remember turning on that station, going left to the dial, finding the station. And one of the first songs I heard was Burn It Clean by Mudhoney. I'd never heard, and I'd heard a lot of music before. I mean, big music guy. And I'm like, oh shit, this is really different. Really different. I get it. I totally get it. I'm not sure I like it though. That was the first time that I ever felt old musically. Like I remember as a kid listening to Throbbing Gristle for the first time. I think I was around 19 years old, maybe 20. And I didn't really like it. It wasn't my thing. I'm not really into, hardcore abrasive music. Hardcore abrasive music with the edges rounded off, that's a different story. I think that gets into the atmospheric metal realm that Mike talks about. But I remember listening to Mudhoney thinking, I'm old. And I was 29. And the second time that happened to me was when I went to a Pixies concert. I saw the Pixies. And I felt, and even though Frank Black is my age, maybe a little bit younger, I mean, all those people in the Pixies are close to my age, I felt old. It was like, wow, I feel old. So I kind of checked out of that scene. I kind of checked out of that music. And because that was really popular in Seattle. And that was the time when Mother Love Bone with Andy Wood, who would later go on to become Pearl Jam, they were on the cover of the Rocket like every other week. And Andy Wood OD'd. They were supposed to be the big band that was going to break out of Seattle. And then, well, they ultimately would be. You know, they came out of a group called Green River. A lot of the players from Green River showed up in Mother Love Bone. And after Andy Wood died, they were going to rename the group Mookie Blaylock. Some of you who follow music probably know that. Really basic Pearl Jam trivia. But Mookie Blaylock did not let them do it. Mookie Blaylock being an NBA player, pretty good player. But he said no. And of course, they changed the name and the rest is history. Not a band that I like, by the way. Not a band that I like. I have an Eddie Vedder story, though. It has nothing to do with me. It was one of my clients. And totally gorgeous person. Like, I've met her parents, and I hope she's doing really, really well. She's model-like. Venus on the midheaven. Venus on the midheaven. And she was at a hotel in London, and her boyfriend and his brother, who were from another country, they weren't from England. They were not connected to Western culture. They were off, and they were using the men's room, the loo. And she's standing there in the lobby waiting for them. And Eddie Vedder rolls up and sees her, and he's got 2 bodyguards with him. And he starts chatting her up, and he gives her a guitar pick. Like he's like, man, I got to use my Eddie Vedder card. I got to play the Eddie Vedder card here. And so he's chatting with her, and then the boyfriend and the brother walk up, and we're like, who's this guy talking to my girlfriend? And the boyfriend says, is everything okay here? He's like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, everything's cool, man. Everything's cool. And he sticks out his hand and says, I'm Eddie. And he's like, so? Eddie Vedder. Who are you? It was like, they didn't know who he was. They did not know who he was. And that must have been an interesting moment, right, for him. Because here he is, he's trying to chat up this gal, and her boyfriend and his brother walk up and completely just don't know who the fuck the guy is. Funny moment. It reminds me of an O.J. Simpson story. One time O.J. Simpson went to Paris and nobody knew who he was. Like, he couldn't figure out, like, how come nobody knew who he was. And apparently he was really pissed off. He took it personally that nobody knew who he was. Nobody could recognize him from all of his bad B flicks that he was in, or his storied NFL career. I don't think that led to the disaster that was known as the Nicole Simpson murder. You never know. All right, let's do the invocation here. We got a lot to cover, so let's get going. All right, dear blessed Holy Mother, Father God of the great central Sun, within the universal light, which is the light of Yeshua, Sananda, Emmanuel, all the great avatars who have lived amongst us. We ask that only the highest and best information, wisdom, and truth come through this channel at this time for everyone watching, listening, participating in their lives, in all and through all. We affirm and decree the qualities of forbearance and perseverance, clarity, irony, the ability to understand and hold the space for paradox, empathy, compassion, grit, determination, flexibility, presence, being in the now, compassion, a double dose of humor, and above all, love. We ask that any karmic residue be cleansed, clarified, purified, transmutated, transmogrified, and removed. Okay, let's go. Good old tree. I love it. I love it when the tree gets to stand in for me. It feels a lot more real. Okay. A lot to cover today. All right, let's talk about the Abbott thing. Huge blowback, huge pushback on Abbott's commandment. Now, there's some interesting wrinkles here, which I want to get into. So there are a number of businesses, both small and large, that do not want to give up the mask. They don't want to give up the mask. They're like, fuck you. We are going to make people wear the mask. We're not listening to you. Who are they listening to? Well, they're listening apparently to the CDC. Now, I think, and I want to get into this because I think I can see, my paranoid mindset. I think I can see where this is headed. But let me tell you about what happened last night. I went to Natural Grocers, which is a store I really like. It's a wonderful store, such a great addition to our town. They never hassle anybody about their mask. They have high quality organic produce. They're a little high on some things, and then, but I can get really good eggs there for a decent price, as long as I'm a member and I don't mind being a member. Never hassle you about the mask, period, end of story. So I'm standing in line, and there's this woman ahead of me, and she's wearing, the medical stuff, the whatever you call it, right? They're the medical stuff, the medical attire, scrubbies. She's wearing scrubbies and blue scrubbies, and young, and she's wearing a mask in line. And she looked at me, and you could tell that she kind of smiled underneath the mask at me. I was in a pretty good mood. I'd worked out. When you're in a good mood and you're feeling good, like people will just reflect that back to you. There is no like cognitive dissonance there. So she smiled at me, and I said to her, I asked her, I said, so you're going to take that mask off on the 10th? And she said, no, I'm not. I said, oh, because you're a medical person, right? And she said, yeah, I work over in the coronary division. I'm like, oh, okay. So what's going on at the hospital? How's it going over there? And she said, well, it was very hectic, but it seems to be much calmer now. So, oh, okay. So what would it take for you to take that mask off? She couldn't answer the question. So I dropped into my Anthony Fauci to try to, lighten the mood a little bit. And we're going to get into Fauci, by the way. And she said, I don't listen to Fauci. Oh, really? Oh, so you don't listen to the guy who's been the driver of this whole thing. This is really weird, right? So she's not going to listen to Greg Abbott, but she's not going to listen to Tony Fauci. Who is she going to listen to? So most people, I believe, are deferring to the CDC. Now, isn't Fauci, I don't think he's the head of the CDC. Isn't that guy, Robert Redfield? Whoever that guy is. Whoever any of these people are. We don't know who they really are, do we? We know who they say they are, but we don't really know who they are. And I'm going to show you why today. She couldn't answer the question, and my heart kind of went out to her because she's stuck. She's like in this bardo. These people, these masked up people they're in a bardo. They're caught between worlds. They're totally caught between worlds, and they can't get out of their bardo. They're stuck because they're in, guess what? They're in the middle of the Janus event. And they're not going to be on the other side of that event until whoever the authority that they respect is going to tell them. What if Joe Biden said, take the mask off? What do you think people would do? They'd be really fucked up. They'd be really fucked up. So the only thing now that people are really respecting is the CDC. Apparently, the CDC runs the country at this point. Now, I think Abbott is going to make a different play. So I picked up a thread from Owen Schroyer, although I didn't go through it all the way. And apparently he found somebody or knew somebody inside of Abbott's administration, and he got some inside baseball. And the idea is that Abbott is going to make this a law, and that this is the kind of this interregnum to remove the mandate and then come back with an actual law. And there is a bill that's being introduced in the Texas State Senate that does state that wearing a mask and doing all these things must be a law. So that's already been introduced. And if you know anything about Abbott, he's not who he says he is. Remember, he went to Vanderbilt. He got his law degree in Vanderbilt, and that's where the Moderna vaccine was developed, at Vanderbilt, his alma mater. What do you think he's got an investment in? He's got an investment in his alma mater. Who knows? He might even have an investment in Moderna. He certainly has an investment in vaccines. That's all the guy fucking talks about. Bragging about all the vaccines that have gone out here in Texas. So I'm thinking that in about 3 months, 4 months, maybe 4 months on the kind of the outside. Let's go 5 months on the outside. And that would put us in August. Dog days of summer. That we're going to see the effects and ramifications of the shots. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And how are people going to respond to that? How are people, you're going to see people, I think, in a very different kind of physical state. You know, will it be the return of the new variant? Will they call it the Texas variant, the Dallas variant, the Houston variant? Who knows? Because we're in uncharted territory, and we're going to see what's going to happen to these people. And are they going to say, "Oh, well, this is the byproduct of their jab"? Are they going to go there? Somebody was talking about how apparently, like soybean oil is the new culprit, right? I just kind of picked up on this. That soybean oil is going to be demonized, and it should be, but not for the reasons that they say that soybean oil is affecting people's health. So I think what they're going to try to do is sort of transfer any kind of adverse reaction to the jab. So, oh, that's soybean oil. We got to get rid of soybean oil. Well, if you get rid of soybean oil, then what are you going to do? You're getting, and I'm not a fan of soybean oil. Don't get me wrong. I think it's terrible. Most oils are terrible. So maybe only about 2 or 3 oils you should even really consider. But soybeans are a huge, huge, huge agricultural staple of the United States. We grow a shit ton of soybeans here. They're in all our products. And we ship the rest out to China. China loves its soybeans. So you take down the soybean market without a replacement crop. Guess what? Now you're hitting farmers again. So, you know, these things happen. There's usually more than one kind of underlying reason. So they can demonize soybean oil. Oh, well, that's why people are not feeling well. Oh, well, let's stop growing soybeans. Now you got a bunch of farmers who depend on soybeans and they're not growing them. Will they get subsidized? I doubt it. They'll go out of business and Bill Gates will buy their land. It's another form of disaster capitalism. But I think this is what's going to happen. I think you're going to see people, adverse reaction, and we're into the Hegelian dialectic, and then Abbott comes in. They've got this pending legislation in the state Senate. If it passes, we go from a mandate, which is soft, to a hard law. Hard law. Now, a lot can happen between now and then. A lot. And I think we're going to see a lot happen. But man, the world is out for Greg Abbott, and the world is out for Texas. And Joe Biden called Texas and Mississippi. This is no time for Neanderthal thinking. Okay. Coming from a guy who can't even complete a fucking sentence. Whoever that guy is, whatever he is. So that's the latest update. And I couldn't believe. Now, I've been seeing more people without masks. That's happening. That is happening. I'm going to go out today. I'm going to go to HEB. I didn't go to HEB last night because I didn't want to spend all that time. So I went to Natural Grocers. And I did have that very fruitful conversation with the young nurse. She was stuck. She's stuck in a Bardo. These people are in a Janus, man. They're in the Janus moment. They're in the Janus cyclotron. And they're not going to come out on the other side until the powers that be allow them to do that. At Cliff High, he contrasted with like the operating system we had in our blood for thousands of years isn't adequate. Does that help? Sorry, I can't share the concept better. Well, yeah, I mean, what we have is fine. What we have is fine, and it's been totally hacked. It's been hacked from vaccines to mercury in our mouths to the fluoride in our water to the preservatives in our food. You go back and look at, Rachel Carson, Silent Spring, pesticides, our bodies, our environment, our relationships, our families, our thoughts, our feelings, they've all been hacked. And we've been dealing with this either overtly or covertly since the time we come out of the womb. And for the latter generations, it's actually been worse, way worse. Just think of the huge schedule of vaccines after 1984 that kids are supposed to get. Brutal. No, we have, if we were able to exist without all those elements in feeding our bodies and feeding our spirits and feeding our minds and nurturing and helping and guiding one another and supporting one another to the best of our ability. Namaste, right? The God within me recognizes the God within you. My God, we could cover some ground. We could cover some ground. We would transcend this stuff pretty quickly, but that's not what happens here. All right, I want to get into, there's a lot I want to cover. I want to get into what's going on with Wokism, which I think is a big deal. Now, Masaki had sent me a very interesting story on Brett Weinstein. Apparently, there's this new thing called Clubhouse, which allows people to use a Zoom-like platform, or maybe they even use Zoom inside a Clubhouse, where you can talk like hundreds of people. It's almost like a virtual town hall. So Brett Weinstein ran this Clubhouse and apparently got really out of hand. Really, really out of hand. And the guy who was supposed to be the moderator left. Well, I think he probably just abdicated his position with the intention, not with the intention, but with the idea and the plan that somebody else was going to moderate, would step in. This is what I think happened. And the moderator was not neutral. Apparently it was this woman named Brooklyn. Again, supposedly, I didn't watch the video. I think it's still out there somewhere. But again, black African American and not on Brett Weinstein's side at all. And they went after his ass. They went after his ass because he was trying to somehow get into the psychology and the social dynamics of Wokism and have kind of a robust sort of debate topic where people could talk and go back and forth. And Weinstein loves his evolutionary biology. Like, in order to understand Brett Weinstein, you have to understand evolutionary biology, or you can't have legitimate conversation with him. And that it's really just like Darwinian shit. But they apply it to everything. Like, they have evolutionary dentistry. I couldn't figure that one out. And then they jumped on his ass saying, "Oh, that's just another phrase for eugenics." And they went after him big time, hard. And they actually wound up kicking him out of his own clubhouse. A disaster, unmitigated disaster. So I was thinking about it, and I was texting back and forth with Masaki. And I was thinking about this climate. Oh, by the way, Brett Weinstein tried to play the Jewish card. He tried to say, "Oh, well, I'm Jewish and I'm as oppressed as you are. Trust me." And then they came back with, "Oh, so you're spicy white." And I thought, okay, now here we go. Here we go. And I had a few laughs with Emily. And I said, "Did you know that you were spicy white?" She laughed. And I said, "You're actually spicier than Brett Weinstein." Anyway, so he tried to play that. That's really pathetic. I'm sorry. It's sort of like, "Gee, I feel your pain because I'm Jewish." It's like, dude, that's kind of like taking a knee. It's like taking a knee, but you're kind of looking in the other direction. You're taking a knee, but you're not taking a knee in front of your persecutors, your prosecutors and your persecutors. Weak. So anyway, I was thinking about this, and of course, everything now is racist. They decide that they're going to ban Dr. Seuss. Shakespeare's going to be next. Wagner. It's got it. You're just going to see it, right? It started with the statues, and now it's going into books, and then it's going to go into music, and then it's going to go into movies. Just watch. So, what is the net effect of that? And really, what are they really doing? What are they really doing? Are they really combating racism? Are they nipping hate in the bud? I'll tell you what they're really doing is that they're grooming white hate. They're grooming white nationalism. They're grooming it. I'm telling you right now, this is what they're doing. And I think it's semi-conscious because they're trying to smoke out this threat, right? And it's conscious on that level. We're going to smoke out this threat. And it doesn't, and again, I'm just telling you, it doesn't matter what side of the so-called melanin or non-melanin equation this thing is on. It is a tactic. It's a tactic. In the Bolshevik Soviet Union, it was about class. It was about class. It was about the proletariat, right, and the bourgeoisie. So they were smoking out the bourgeoisie because they're not allowing you to be prosperous with all this land and all these resources, which was not true, by the way. It's not true at all. But that's what they were implying because the Romanovs and the circle around the Romanovs were really fucking decadent. They were really decadent, and they were ready for a fall. They were ready for it. There were guys inside the Romanov circle that used to get Rasputin and do these private sessions with Rasputin and their wives And essentially what they would do is they would watch Rasputin bang their wives. True fact. That's how decadent these people were. Their moral character and their spiritual immunity was deeply compromised. So they were ready for a fall. So what are they really doing? Well, they're cultivating this thing, right? They're cultivating it by creating it again and again and again and again and again. They have this term called speaking it into existence. So if you were a 16-year-old white male or a 17-year-old white male, and you had any kind of consciousness, you saw what was going on, like right now, where would your head be? You'd be looking around and you'd be saying to yourself, well, first of all, they don't like me. They don't like me. Second of all, the way society is headed, I'm going to be surpassed. They're going to put me in the back of the bus. And all these other groups are going to have socioeconomic advantages because it's going to be baked into a system that promotes equity and equality of outcome versus equality of opportunity. I mean, they may not articulate it like that, but they'll feel it. They'll feel it. So what's going to happen when you get a group of people who look around and say, my future is fucked. If this is my future, it is fucked. What do you think they're going to do? Well, there are a couple of options. Number one, if they want to have some kind of higher rank in terms of social credit, they'll claim that they're gay or trans, and maybe that'll move them up the hierarchy. That's one option. Number two, bury the head in the sand and try not to get involved. Some will do that. The third option, actually there's four. One is join the oppressors, right? Join the oppressors. So then oppress kind of your own group, which happens. I mean, this is how life works, right? You're either the hunter or the hunted. This is one of the laws of the so-called jungle, asphalt or otherwise. So there's that too. But then the fourth option is the nuclear option, which is fuck it. I don't have any real future. They keep poking the stick. And I think this is what's going to happen. You're going to see the direct and indirect grooming of the exact threat that these people are claiming that is there but is not there. And they desperately want it to be there. And they're going to get it. I'm telling you right now, they're going to get it. And it won't be organized. It's not going to be, Richard Metzger. Right, Richard Metzger from formerly Orange County and then Oregon. It's not going to be a Richard Metzger kind of a thing, although there may be some elements of that. You're just going to see these disaffected youth, and I'm just going to tell you right up, they're going to be mostly white, and they're going to look at their situation independent of anything else, and they're going to say, fuck it, I've got nothing to lose. And when that happens, then it will be worse than their kind of fake simulacra of white hate, white nationalism. Now, I'm not promoting this. I want you to know that. I'm not promoting it, but you can see the patterns here. You can see what's happening because the drum is incessant, right? It is incessant. Every day that drum is just getting beaten harder and harder and harder and harder. And at some point, people are going to just break. They will break. And when they break, it's like Willard. It's like Captain Willard in Apocalypse Now. And then you're going to have a whole group of people who think that there's nothing for them in the future and they've got nothing to lose and they'll be desperate, and that's what they're going to get. They're going to get what they want. And when it happens, guess what? Oh, well, look. See, this was here all the time. This was here. It was here all the time. No, they're cultivating this. They're grooming this. And they're grooming it psychically. They're grooming it through rules, regulations, mandates. They're grooming the whole thing. And when it happens, it will be ugly. It will be ugly. And the people who believe that this stuff is real, but they've never, ever, ever really seen what it looks like in a real sense, when it does happen, they will be mortified and shocked. Mortified and shocked. And that will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Unless something else occurs that is bigger to intercede into the widening gyre, as Yeats said in The Second Coming, the widening gyre. If that happens, then there's a potential where we might all be back on the same team again. But the way this thing is being rolled out, no. And at some point, whatever group that's, look, we've seen it with the Black community. Like the Black community basically said at some point, fuck it. I'm down here, right? I'm on the, kind of the low end of the socioeconomic totem pole. Fuck it. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I've got nothing to lose. And we've seen that before. And it happens. This is what happens when people become desperate. And I think we're going to see it again. Unless, of course, they're just so narcoticized and hypnotized and demoralized. It may not. I mean, that's another factor. But I just get this sneaking suspicion that that's what they're doing. Now, keep in mind that there are always agents provocateurs and third parties that will be more than happy to go in and accelerate that process. More than happy. Pied Piper-like figures. So I'm calling it out today because when we do this and we kind of speak to it, we can take some of the edge off of it, but it doesn't solve the issue. It doesn't solve the problem. The problem is that we're living now in this society which is no longer about equal opportunity or meritocracy. It's not. And they're going to use one group specifically so that it can be the fulcrum for social change and social order. It's nothing new under the sun. It happens, right? The groups change. All right. Just wanted to talk about that because I think it's important. And I think, I'm going to say this too. I don't care what color you are. The young men in our society have a very difficult time right now. Super difficult. It's got to be really challenging to be 16, 17, 18, 19, even up into your early 20s. Got to be super challenging. Nothing like what it was when I was, that age. I was actually watching an episode of Tim Pool. He had Mike Cernovich on, and they were talking about dating apps. And now dating apps have completely changed the landscape for young people and relationships and quote unquote hooking up. And Mike Cernovich brought up a really good point. If you're 19, 20 years old and you have a dating app and some guy who's a 30-year-old, I don't know, Silicon Baron, or who has bucks, and says, "Hey," and this happens. You want to go to Paris, and apparently they'll take 2 or 3 people to Paris with them, right? You want to go to Paris? You want to go to Paris next week? And you get an 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, and they're kind of in that zone, swiping left. What are you going to do? Are you going to go hang out with the 30-year-old guy and go to Paris? Or are you going to hang out with another 19-year-old who is not as advanced and not as fiscally endowed as the 30-year-old guy who's on the dating app? No, it creates an uneven playing field. And the reason is because the 30-year-old guy doesn't have a wife, doesn't have kids, and it doesn't have a family. That whole thing has been disrupted. See, that wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen if those kinds of relationships were put in place or they were there. So we extend and prolong adolescence, and we extend and prolong. And by that time, men are really starting to come into their own in their 30s. And when they hit their 30s, men start to mature post-Saturn return. So you're a young guy. Now you're competing against that. It's not easy. It is not easy being a young male. And again, I'm not attaching any kind of relationship to any kind of color or ethnicity. I'm just talking about in general. Big challenges, really big challenges. And I'm not sure what the answer is because, well, I know what the answer is. The answer is let them be men. But that's not what we're getting in our society at all. China, however, they're getting into it, man. China's getting into it. All right, I wanted to show you something. This crossed my screen yesterday. And it is related to the topic. It is related to the topic that we're talking about. All right, let me show you this. This is why, as a country and as a culture and as a society, it is a symptom. It is a symptom of the, how do I say this? How do I say this in a slightly politically correct way? It is a symptom of why the corpus collective is in really, really serious trouble. That's Richard Levine. That is the new U.S. Secretary of Health. I'm actually at a loss for words, which is not typical for me. I'm not sure even what to say about this or how to characterize this, except that it's fucking embarrassing. And China is laughing at us. Russia's laughing at us. I'm sure Israel's having a good chuckle too. This is the symbol of the fall of this country, where you have the new U.S. Secretary of Health dressing up like fucking Goldilocks. This is the person that we're entrusting our national health to. You think it's by happenstance? No, not at all. Remember Sia Recoup? Remember that guy? That guy was a real Secretary of Health. Looked a little bit like Dr. Seuss, by the way. But that guy was a real Secretary of Health. He may not have been perfect, but he didn't dress up like fucking Goldilocks. Secretary Goldilocks. What else do I have today? Oh, speaking of white nationalism, did you guys catch this? Catch this story. There was a big to-do about the set at CPAC because apparently it represented a Nordic rune that is connected with white nationalism and the Nazi Party. So as far as I can tell, that rune is Othila, which has to do with separation, fertility, and wealth. Inverted, it's the separation from those things. Right side up is an indicator of fertility and wealth. Othilaya, that's the rune. Despite Democrats and the mainstream media insisting the Conservative Political Action Conference designed its stage to resemble Nazi insignia. These runes, by the way, predate the Nazis, okay? They predate the Nazis. Just like the swastika predated the Nazis, which they inverted. The company responsible for its creation revealed it had no idea that the design resembled any symbol and has worked for Joe Biden and MSNBC in the past. Oh. The company Design Foundry told Forward, who's Forward? Is that the Jewish newspaper? Let's see. It told Forward, because of course they're going to have a keen eye on that. Told Forward it had no idea that the design resembled any symbol, nor was there any intention to create something that did. Right. The designs, renderings, drawings, specifications, materials, and other documents used or created as part of the proposal are owned by Design Foundry. The contract reads. The statement comes days after the mainstream media outlets and left-wing Twitter activists slammed the conference for intentionally designing the stage to depict a Nazi rune, as outlets ran stories like "Nod or Blunder, no CPAC 2021 apology for a stage shaped like a white supremacist symbol." And CPAC viewers, it's a neo-Nazi fantasy. See, this is what they're creating, right? This is what they're fomenting. They're literally speaking and symbolically birthing the kind of reality that they want into existence. This is not an unconscious attempt to groom this reality. The company, however, has worked with companies including MSNBC, Google, and the Biden Cancer Initiative. Specifically, it provided services for the 2018 Biden Cancer Summit, which featured President Biden as a speaker. In the 70th anniversary of MSNBC's Meet the Press in 2017, a 2017 Summit for New America, an organization led by Obama administration alumni. And of the $7,766.50 spent by Design Foundry workers on federal elections, just $140 or 1.8% went to Republican candidates. So you can see where Design Foundry clearly has its allegiance. You see what they're doing? They're trying to create this narrative. They're trying to speak and symbolically initiate this thing into existence. Today is March 4th. Supposedly, this is the day when Trump goes back to the White House and takes over and starts the real country, the real republic versus the corporate version of the United States. It's been talked about. It's been touted. Trump Hotel in D.C. has tripled its rates, apparently. So it's going to be an interesting day. It will be an interesting day. And let's hope nothing happens. Zero happens. Because we're calling it out. We're seeing what they're doing. They're trying to animate this reality before our very eyes, right? They're doing it on all these different levels. So is that Perth? That might be Perth. That rune might be Perth. Let me check. No, Perth is, no, I think it's Othalia. Othala. Yeah, so that's exactly, it's also known as Odal. So I'll show you guys. I used to be a big rune person. It was one of the systems I learned very early on. I'm exposing my my Nazi roots. No, I was just fascinated by the runes. They were easy. They were easy to interpret. There you go. Now this is the Norse version of it, right there. Othala, Odal. There's a number of different kind of pronunciations of it. There's the Othala rune from the ADL, the Odal rune from Wikipedia. Here's a definition and meaning right here. It's about property, inheritance, fertility, right? And reversed, it's separation. The common Germanic stem, Ophala or Opelia, inherited estate, is an ablaut variant of the stem Apal. It consists of a root ap and suffix alaya or ala. The suffix variant accounts for the unmulated, blah, 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 part of the Elder Futhark, which is the runic script, right there. Here's the modern use. Runes, runes, runes everywhere. The Odal rune was one of the protection runes of the Shadow Hunters in the film adaptation of the first in the series of Cassandra Clare books, City of Bones. I did not know that. So there's the CPAC thing. Interesting. I just always, saw this rune as being connected to things like fertility and abundance, inverted, sort of separating from that, right? These people are very clever. They're so clever. They're really good at staging these psychological operations. But, we stay on top of them, we call them out, and that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. I wanted to show you guys some interesting shit. Since we're in deep fake land, first thing I want to show you is, I'll show you this. Where is it? There's that. Just had, I know where it is. It's over here. Okay, check this out. This thing crossed my radar last night. We are in serious trouble. And of course, in the height of this sort of procession of the true node through Gemini, we're going to get this stuff. We don't know who is who. We don't know who is who or what is what, or if somebody is wearing a mask, or if they're CGI, or if they're a hologram. I mean, all this stuff is really, rising to the surface. So this crossed my path like yesterday. And I'm going to play for you. It's going to blow your mind. Let's see. What happens if no, I don't want to do this. Let me do this. I want to get it on my other browser, because then I'll actually be able to play the audio, which is important. All right, that's easy. Okay, here we go. Let's tee it up. Some of you have probably seen this. This is a deep fake of Tom Cruise. Now, if you pay attention, you'll see that it's not perfect, but boy, it is getting really close. Here we go.
That's fine. Oh, it's it's a little embarrassing. Reminds me, I was once in Russia, and ran into Gorbachev. He said, Mr. Movie Star, are you nervous? I said, no, Mr. Gorbachev, I'm not nervous. He goes, well, remember how much a polar bear weighs. I said, polar bear? He said, enough to break the ice. It's the last time I've ever seen Mikhail Gorbachev.
What's up, TikTok?
You guys cool if I play some sports? I love it. More for the audio experience as much as the momentum. Hey, listen up, sports and TikTok fans. If you like what you're seeing, just wait till what's coming next. I'm going to show you some magic. It's the real thing. I mean, it's all the real thing.
That was not Tom Cruise. That was not Tom Cruise. That's a deep fake AI. Deep fake AI. Sounds like the voice of TikTok JFK Jr. video. I reckon he's quite good. Creepy. Tom Cruise is short and stocky. Doesn't sound like TC. Yeah, not right. Not quite. Somebody Miles Fisher. Somebody named Miles Fisher. It's a bit too skinny. Yes, but you know what, though? They're getting close on this stuff. Really close. Perilously close. So what would happen now? I mean, this thing could work both ways, right? So let's say they've got blackmail info on somebody. Let's say there's a tape of somebody doing something really, really heinous. They could say that's a deep fake. Plausible deniability. And what if there's a deep fake and you didn't do the thing, and yet they're going to accuse you of the thing that you did, and it's a deep fake? Boy, we are in really, really sketchy territory. Really sketchy territory. It's almost like you're going to have to document your whereabouts like 24/7 now. You're going to have to be your own big brother. So, well, I wasn't there. I've got a time code, and I was right here. I'm basically videotaping my own whereabouts 24/7. Some people will actually do that. They will do that. It cuts both ways. Hello, Gemini. That's where we're at. Okay, I want to show you one more thing, and then I'm going to leave on kind of a cool thing. I want to leave you on a cool thing. I want to show you this. Now, this is really disturbing, very disturbing, because you get to see the seamy edges of reality, or so-called reality, being revealed. Let me show you. I got to go to, here we go, right there. Check this out. Check this out. This is Tony Fauci, supposedly. Keep your eye on his neck.
Look at it. Yes. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's jumping. Oh my God, what is that?
That's the bottom of his mouth.
Oh my God. Is it going to do it again?
He's going to talk again.
What the hell?
That's total green screen too, by the way. He's not even there. Whoever this person is.
Look at it. Look. Look.
What is that?
Look, his collar is only half
Oh
of his
my
collar.
God.
Covered by a mask. It's
Look.
not supposed to be hanging over the top of the shirt.
Look at that. What the hell is going on here?
It's actually got a black
Oh,
underneath his chin.
yes, it does. You can't see it so much like this. Oh, but this, you can see it. Oh my gosh. Ah, that
So there you go. I mean, what the hell is going on there? Is he wearing a mask, or is that another deep fake? Are they deep faking a guy? We're in weird territory. Very weird territory. We've never, ever, ever approached this level of duplicity, deceit, duality. We're in a fucking hall of mirrors right now. Hall of mirrors. And that's why we want clarity and perception and discernment. So figure out what that's about. Let that ricochet inside of your cranium for a bit. Your Ukrainium. We've seen the Kamala Harris face too, right? Did I show this to you guys? I think I still have it up. Let me see. Do I have it still? Let's see. I'm not sure. I thought I did. I thought I did. Let me show you something, though, that is mask related. It is mask related. When I saw this is just like, to me, this really epitomizes this de-evolutionary process that I've been talking about. And I promise I'm gonna leave you guys with something good. Can you fucking believe this? Can you believe this? These are swim instructors. And they're wearing, not just wearing masks, but they're wearing face shields. And this is in an environment that is bathed in chlorine, okay? It's like they've got this sanitation thing that's already built in. Right? They're swimming in sanitation. And this guy's wearing a hat. Like he's like the hipster. He's the hipster lifeguard with the mask and the shield. These poor kids. I'll tell you a group, and I'm gonna look at them on Sunday night when I do Sunday Night Astro Live. These Pluto and Capricorn kids who were born with Uranus and Aries, these kids, they're gonna be fucking pissed when they grow up. They're going to be fucking pissed. And you're going to see some of them now. They're around, I think 2011 was when that group started to be born. 2011 to about 2013. That 2-year kind of span, roughly. Maybe a little bit longer than that. 3 years. When we're getting into those T-squares, the cardinal T-squares, those kids are going to be fucking pissed. Because they also have Saturn in Libra. And so, 2012, 2011, 2012, 2013, those 3 years, a little bit before that. Well, certainly from 2009 to 2012, that's when Saturn was in Libra. So you get the Saturn square with Pluto. But I think 2011 is when those squares really line up. Now, 2011, 2012, of course, Uranus is going to be there for a while, right? Squaring off with Pluto. That's going to be one pissed off little subgeneration. So they're 8 years old now. Wait till they get into wait until Saturn and Neptune move into Aries and conjunct their natal Uranus, which squares, so they're going to be squaring their natal Pluto. And that's 4 years? When they hit their first Saturn opposition, look out. Look out. Those kids are not going to be happy. They will not be happy. And nobody's talking about them. I'm gonna get into more of that on Sunday night. There was one other thing I wanted to show you guys. This is just fucking ridiculous. Let me see if I can find it. You gotta see this. Hear that nice bird? So you remember, wasn't that long ago when at sporting events they would play, or they would have the kiss cam. Remember that? They would throw up a big heart and they'd focus on a couple, and then it was sort of like, hey, we're focused on you. You got to kiss. And again, they'd look at each other and go, oh, they'd kiss, and somebody a little peck. Sometimes it would be, over the top, but they had the kiss cam. Well, guess what? Now they have Sanitizer cam. You can't make this shit up. You just can't make it up. I'm not even going to play the volume on this. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to the NBA's Sanitizer cam. Here we go. This is real. They're seeing this. Look at, oh my, so instead of kissing, look at that. They're not even touching. Air 5 cam. Uh-oh. Get that guy's number. Follow him home from the stadium. She's not feeling it. Oh, they're getting all excited. Look at that. Oh my God. I don't know. I guess you could make a case for calling a climax cam if you wanted to. It's all right. I had to go there. Let me show you a really cool thing. All right, it's a personal story. It's a good story. So we talk about entanglement, quantum entanglement, and how there's this kind of operating principle that takes place in a way that we're not in control of in some ways. Although to some extent we are, based on our thoughts, our decisions, our actions, our emotions, our intentions. They all add up to our personal experience on a day-to-day level. Right? We cultivate our reality based on those things. And anybody that tells you otherwise is completely and utterly wrong. We are the sum total and part of all those things combined. So I think it was about maybe, 2 months ago, we started to have a group of people begin to show up and, of course, begin to take on the city council and the mayor and the county judge, and to some extent even Greg Abbott with the mask mandate and all this other garbage that we've all had to live through for the last year. And some new people began to show up. And one of the people, or peoples that began to show up, was a husband and wife team who'd moved here from Michigan. And I first met the wife of the duo and then the husband, both of them wonderful, very nice people. And they're artists and artisans. And so I got to know both of them. And Kimberly, who is the wife part of the team, she figured out, I don't know how she found it, but she figured out like how to watch my show. And so she started watching my show. So, we sort of, began to connect. And she was really the person who was kind of instrumental in, me throwing my hat in and doing the city council thing, which I'm still wrapping my head around it in a lot of ways. But both her and her husband thought, I would be a reasonable person to do something. And she said, I'll help you. Like, what do you do with something like that, right? And I'm a 2/4 projector. It was an invitation. It's like, okay, there's my invitation. So she's helped me a lot. And kudos, tip of the cap, mad appreciation and respect. And her and her husband are artists. And I want to show you a couple things here. This is the quantum entanglement piece. Now, you guys know that I've been talking about this Janus stuff for a while. I think I started talking about it back in, I think it might have been like September. So about 6 months ago, I did a big show on this channel about Janus. And we really got into it. So I want to show you a couple things. I'm going to take you to their website. And they create really, really cool jewelry. Okay. So I want to show you quantum entanglement in action. Okay. So this is their website, Artemis Designs. Gotta love that, right? Straight out of the gate. And really, really fine work here with bracelets and a bunch of stuff, right? Check this out. She's got a whole horoscope collection. Look at that. How cool is this, right? And of course, what do? I do a lot of astrology work, and here it is. You can get pendants and earrings and all kinds of cool stuff, right? But check this out. This is really what grabbed me. She has an entire line using Janus. Look at that. Janus bracelet, Janus coin pendants. Look at that. This is quantum entanglement right here, right? So we have a symbolic relationship. It's like the key that opens the door. And they were doing this way before I got into this Janus thing. It wasn't like, oh, hey, this guy is talking about Janus. Let's roll out this line. They have a whole line that's connected to these coins. They have the honeybee, right there. They have Athena, right there. There's the owl. Look at that. See that? Is that an owl? Yep. The owl of Athena. There's Athena. Bracelets, all kinds of stuff. But the one that really seals the deal, right there, Janus. So I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I really appreciate Kimberly and her husband, and I appreciate the fact that they're living here and getting involved and getting engaged with what we're doing and helping me out. I do really appreciate that. But I also just wanted to show you that there is a process at work here. There's a process at work that we're not always aware of. And this is kind of how Aquarius works. It is that process of entanglement that becomes this sum total of who we are. And when we're living in what I would call the right direction, which would be, authentic or aligned, these things happen. These things happen, and you can't quantify them. You cannot quantify them. Think about that. Just think about that for a moment, right? The astrological connection and then the Janus coin. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. So I wanted to turn you on to her work because I think they're really talented. I'm going to do it again on Sunday night because not everybody that watches this show watches my Sunday night show and vice versa. So it's a show based on astrology, obviously. So I'm going to bring it up again on the Sunday night show. But it's just something fascinating and something I've been watching through this process. So remember that there's something deeper at work here. When you see all of the so-called manufactured chaos, which is a lot of the Saturn, Aquarius, squaring Uranus, and Taurus, that's like manufactured chaos. There is a different level of chaos. There's a swirling chaos that's connected to things like synchronicity and quantum entanglement and a self-generating organizing principle that's based on something new. And the more that we recognize that, the more that we speak it into existence and pay attention to these things in your own life. Don't take them for granted. right? They are there. This is the omniverse revealing itself to us. And it's revealing itself to us in ways that are not necessarily quantifiable. Pay attention to that. So I wanted to share that with you. Okay. All right. Let's see. What do we have here? I have like 3 sets of owl necklaces and earrings. I love owls. Need to manifest a new reality on the beach in Costa Rica. Do it. Do it. So there's a person here in town very into Joe Dispenza. Very into Joe Dispenza. Joe Dispenza, by the way, I'm going to look at his chart on Sunday night. The guy actually has a really fucking interesting chart. A really interesting chart. So I'm going to make a case that even though I don't know a lot about his work, except it's about creating your own reality, I'm going to make a case based on his chart that he's the real deal, because I've looked at his chart and it's very interesting. So, Joe, you can make it happen. You can make it happen. The fake light show for New York and Seattle also had 2 faces back to back. Yes, I saw that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. I see synchronicity everywhere. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Lisa says, what did Lisa say? I love that work. Just ordered some pendants. Nice. Excellent. Excellent. What else? Spirit winks and cosmic coinky dinks. I like that. All right. I think we got to go. We've hit the limit. Man, an hour and 40 minutes just goes by so quickly, doesn't it? It's always great sharing it with you. I'll be back tomorrow here at 12 noon with the Cremies, dipping into Piscean waters and talking about selkies and maybe some mermaid talk too. All right. One last check with chat. Lost the link to your Vimeo. When I search, it's hit and miss. Can you post your Vimeo link on your? Yes, I will. I will do that today. I promise. And I don't think that this is going to be, well, you never know with YouTube. You just never fucking know. But I don't think there was any real controversial material here. Although I did talk about some controversial things. Let's see. Anybody else? Aqualung. Okay. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to stay up on what's possible. Take good care. Have a wonderful day. And give a nod and a wink to the quantum entanglement that is working for you in your life so that a new reality can emerge. Not the one that they script, not the one that they groom, not the one that they foment, not the one that they stir up in their witch's cauldron with all of these skanky elements, but your own alchemical manifestation of the best you. Bye for now.